Hey y'all. This is a groove pad featuring Back to the Basics beat. So, this is Back to the Basics brief. The last few days has been very, very serious. And it had me thinking a lot about just warfare in general. So I was researching and I found a very interesting PDF file, or book, should I say. So it's called The 33 Strategies of Warfare. It was written by Robert Greene. I am going to put a link in the description box because, again, I was Googling and I was researching, and this was something that just happened to pop up on the Google search. Very interesting. There's been a lot of things going on. And I read, again, I was skimming through it just to see. And I came to a part that was very interesting. And this is the part I'm going to cover because this PDF is very long. It's actually 1,139 pages. So I'm only going to just highlight what I found to be important. So around page 693 of the 33 Strategies of War, written by Robert Greene, one will find the keys to warfare. I'm only going to read a couple of pages because, again, this would be more like a sampling of the book. So, keys to warfare, and I'm reading straight from the PDF. There are 3 kinds of people in the world. First, there are the dreamers and talkers who begin their projects with a burst of enthusiasm. But this burst of energy quickly peters out as they encounter the real world and the hard work needed to bring any project to an end. They are emotional creatures who live mainly in the moment. They easily lose interest as something new grabs their attention. Their lives are littered with half-finished projects, including some that barely make it beyond a daydream. Now again, I know some people may say, well, back to the basics, where are you going with this? This isn't a subliminal diss to anybody. This is just, again, I had warfare on my mind, and I just said, well, let me research some strategies, or just at least the mindset. And here it talks about the dreamers and the talkers. And lately, you know, given the events that have happened, there have been a lot of people talking. And this is no disrespect for those who are protesting. And those who have decided to get out there and take it to the street. I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. I was going to do a video about our brother George Floyd. However, on Memorial Day, I had just completed a video talking about Mr. Trevor Bell. He was a UK taxi cab driver who got spat at by a fare dodger, meaning someone who didn't want to pay the cab fare. And again, this person was white and had an Irish accent. And it's such a shame because the incident occurred on March 22nd of this year at around 12:30 in the UK. And he developed flu-like symptoms about 4 days later, which would be March 26th. And then on March 31st, unfortunately, he was rushed to the hospital. And by April of this year, he had passed of COVID-19. What was really frustrating about Mr. Trevor Bell was that he had reported the incident to the police and they didn't think it was worth the £9 as far as the cab fare. Also, that person who spat at him told him, "Oh, I have the COVID-19 and now you have it too." I had just finished that video on Memorial Day, and then I said I was going to look at the news, but I'm glad that I didn't. Because that took just about whatever positive energy I had left. That was very difficult for me. Reporting about Breonna Taylor, that was very difficult for me. I couldn't do anything on Ahmaud Arbery. That was just too much. It was too much. And for this one, and particularly with George Floyd, I just, I can't. I won't do any videos on that probably. At least not right now. It's, no. But getting back to what I was talking about, the dreamers and the talkers. You know, it's just like running a race. When people get out there, they run a race, and you'll have people who literally blast off. And then by the time they get to like the half-mile mark or the mile mark, depending upon the distance of the race, then the people who actually had a strategy, who may have had the strategy of doing a tempo run or anything of that nature, like they're passing up that person because they started off. They didn't pace themselves at all. And it really doesn't matter whether if you're running a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, or a marathon, or if you're going like way out there, like ultra marathon. You really had to have a strategy. We as a people need to have a strategy. And don't get me wrong. I think that it is important to think things through. You know, ain't nothing wrong with having a blueprint and for it to be detailed. Ain't nothing wrong with that. By all means, brainstorm, backwards plan from, okay, this is where I want to be, and I had to work my way backwards to where I am now to fill in all the gaps, and of course to anticipate some things going wrong. That's important. Ain't nothing wrong. Hey, nothing wrong with having a detailed picture or blueprint, but there comes a point where you have to become a part of the third group, which is doing something and then finishing it. There's a lot of think tanks out there, but shoot, we need people at all levels, but we need to have balance. There has to be a balance of people who dream, who talk, and who will then we need more people who are going to do and complete. There's some people who start doing and then they don't complete. They don't finish. And that's the last thing that any of us need when it comes to warfare. So now I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to go right back to the PDF. Then there are those who bring whatever they do to a conclusion, either because they have to or because they can manage the effort. But they cross the finish line with distinctly less enthusiasm and energy than they had started out. Now again, this third group is split as well. This mars the end of the campaign because they are impatient to finish. The ending seems hurried and patched together. So they complete it, but again, it's the quality of it's just like, for example, in the work environment, there's a lot of people who can get a lot of stuff done. But the thing is, was it done in an accurate manner? Because then if it's not accurate, guess what? All that speed, all that, quick, fast, and in a hurry doesn't mean anything, because now that person has to go back and then fix and then pretty much go back through the whole process, when all they had to do was just be cool, slow down, and as my mom would say, do it right the first time. And that's just me talking in general. Let me keep reading from the PDF. And it leaves other people feeling slightly unsatisfied. It is not memorable, does not last, has no resonance. So now again, we're getting to the third group, the doers. You'll have people, they'll be real quick to finish something, or, they'll finish something and they won't be enthusiastic about it. But it'll look like, again, a half-baked product. However, here we go. Looking at the third group, the doers. Both of these types, begin each project without a firm idea of how to end it. And as the project progresses, inevitably differing from what they had imagined it would be, they become unsure of how to get out of it and either give up or simply rush to the end. So again, it seems that time, an individual, again, I'm speaking in general, time, a person may, meet resistance, then sometimes they stop or they retreat. But this is where that individual needs to do the exact opposite. Once they meet that resistance, they have to continue to push and advance. As a medic, we're taught to initiate IV access. And once you get in the vein, we are taught to advance. You got to advance. And then after you advance, you verify that you get the flash, boom, you advance. You advance the hub, and then you secure, hook up the IV line, release the constriction band, and then you do what you gotta do. Let me keep going, because again, this is a Back to the Basics brief. The third group comprises those who understand a primary law of power and strategy. The end of something, a project, a campaign, a conversation, has inordinate importance for people. It resonates in the mind. A war can begin with great fanfare and can bring many victories, but if it ends badly, that is all anyone remembers. Knowing the importance and the emotional resonance of the ending of anything, people of the third type understand that the issue is not simply finishing what they have started, but finishing it well with energy, a clear head, and an eye on the afterglow, the way the event will linger in people's minds. These types of people invariably begin with a clear plan. When setbacks come, as setbacks will, they are able to stay patient and think rationally. Notice the words there, the law of power and strategy. You have to think about, that warfare is already occurring right now. This, the battlefield, and I have yet to deploy. I'm not up here about to, make up some elaborate war story. Oh, I was deployed over there in South Korea. Please. South Korea is not even a deployment. It is it would be considered a hardship tour, but it is not a deployment. And by the way, none of my statements are endorsed by the United States Army, DOD, and any other military branch or government entity or military element. But again, the law of power and strategy. So the third group, the doers, there's two types of doers. There's ones who want to rush through real quick, and then there's the second group of the doers, which is the third group. And again, just to emphasize, people of the third type understand that the issue is not simply finishing what they have started, but finishing it well with energy. Gotta have good energy. A clear head. Really don't need to be all up in our feelings. And an eye on the afterglow, the way the event will linger in a person's mind. Gotta have a clear plan. And then again, here's one of the most important sentences. When setbacks come, as setbacks will, they are able to stay patient, they stay the course, and think rationally. Okay, so I had a clear plan, and now, okay, we're having setbacks. Okay, let me just be patient. Let me see, maintain situational awareness, and I'm going to adjust the plan as needed. Now, I know for some people, they'd be like, oh, well, back to the basics, people have a right to get into their feelings. Listen, I never said that. I never said that people didn't have a right to feel emotion. We all feel emotion. Everybody. Men, women, children, we all we all feel emotion. We all experience an array of emotion. This goes back to my live season 2, episode 18, when I talked about, having control. You had to control our emotions, though. Because you got to think about the enemy. This is what he wants. He wants us to get so in our emotions till all rational thinking just goes out the window. That is bad, particularly if we're talking about warfare and coming up with a clear plan and a strategy. That is the worst thing. This problem reaction solution, it is terrible. This divide and conquer, it is terrible. Those are just 2 of the strategies that the enemy is using. The psychological warfare is real. The spiritual warfare is real. And all the other variables on the battlefield is complex. It's not simple. But we have to stay focused. So, where was I at? I'm going to read a little bit more of this PDF, The 33 Strategies of War, written by Robert Greene. So let me go back to, I'm going to double back on that sentence that I just did. These types invariably begin with a clear plan. When setbacks come, as setbacks will, they are able to stay patient and think rationally. They plan not just to the end, but past it, to the aftermath. These are the ones who create things that last, a meaningful peace, a memorable work of art, a long and fruitful career. So they plan past the end point. I'm going to keep reading. The reason it is hard to end things well is simple. Endings inspire overpowering emotions. At the end of a bitter conflict, we have a deep desire for peace and impatience for the truth. If the conflict is bringing us victory, we often succumb to delusions of grandeur or are swept by greed and grab for more than we need. If the conflict has been nasty, anger moves us to finish with a violent, punitive strike. If we lose, we are left with a burning desire for revenge. Emotions like these can ruin all of our prior good work. the key word is to have emotional intelligence. And here it is, the sentence right here. There is in fact nothing harder in the realm of strategy than keeping our head on straight all the way to the end and past the end, yet nothing is more necessary. Napoleon Bonaparte was perhaps the greatest general that ever lived. His strategies were marvels of combined flexibility and detail, and he planned all the way to the end. The battlefield is complex. There's really no time for letting our emotions control us. And there's really no time for egos either. I understand that there's a clear chain of command, but there comes a point where, and I know people have their lanes, but there comes a point where as far as having groups of people working together, there comes a point where, hey, all that ego stuff needs to go out the way and everybody has their lane. And if we are working together, toward a common goal, then that's what we need to focus on. Not, I don't know, whose rank is bigger or whose rank is higher than this person. That is just a distraction. We don't need that. It's not helping our people. It's not going to help. No. Stay in our lane, work together for the good of the whole group, of everybody. He talks about flexibility. Again, you can have a clear plan. Okay, there's going to be setbacks. All right, got to be flexible. There's a saying that we use, adapt and overcome. You just gotta make some adjustments to the plan. May have to add some stuff, some tools. May have to take away some things that are not working in order for the plan to be what? Effective. So just to recap, because I'm just about done. This is a really good book. The Keys to Warfare. And like I said, this was no disrespect to people who brainstorm, who, they're more of the think tank and, coming up with a blueprint. Hey, we need that. It's good to have a picture of the battlefield and, all the different variables on a map, or, all the different icons to get sort of a picture of what the battlefield may look like. That's important. But we need balance as far as the dreamers and talkers and the doers. And more so as far as people who are going to think rationally and be able to complete tasks. And that's important, not just with warfare, on in employment, in education, in various things. But getting back to some of the strategies of the enemy, I am now not reading from the PDF. This is just my own commentary. When I start thinking about warfare, I start thinking about, okay, let me see the enemy. All right. Because again, so how would the enemy approach? The enemy's not just going to come wearing something that they would be easily identifiable. That would be too easy. Oh, here, I'm the enemy. No, that's not how the enemy operates. The enemy comes and they camouflage their self. They go undercover and look just like everybody else in the camp. Now I'm moving from the keys to warfare to the strategies of warfare. And again, this is just me. I'm not reading from the PDF. This has been done throughout history. People masquerading as a friendly, but really they were the enemy. Whether if it was putting on a friendly's uniform or whatever, they didn't come looking like the enemy. Some people would call that, the wolf in sheep's clothing. Then after they infiltrate, and some people call those people, they could be called, a double agent, a sellout, a coon, Sambo. Some people even call them, we have a mole. Yeah, we have a mole has infiltrated and gathered information and is now leaking information. Remember what I said, B1. Enemy is going to come masquerading as a friendly. The infiltration has already occurred. And some of it, unfortunately, is from our own kind. And this is where, with all the events that have occurred, and it is difficult to take the emotion out of it. It gets difficult, but we must learn from the past. It goes back to the problem, reaction, solution. There's a problem. We had a man be killed on a live stream. Well, during a live stream. And then the reaction, of course, we're seeing that. And now the solution. We're going to call in the National Guard. This is a strategy from their playbook. We must learn from the past. As far as the reaction piece, they watch how we react. And they know that we are emotional. And they use that against us. Think about it. If a person knows what buttons to push to get the result that they want. It makes that other person easy to control. Are you hearing what I'm saying? That gives the enemy an upper hand. We have to stay focused. We can't permit ourselves to be distracted, even by our own emotions, to be able to think clearly about what is really going on. And you know what else the enemy wants? Not only does he want to confuse and to distract, he wants us to have tunnel vision. That's the worst thing a person can do in warfare, is have tunnel vision. One of the worst things is to have tunnel vision. Because then the chances of something being overlooked increases. This is where errors occur, particularly with tunnel vision. Errors, there's a high likelihood that errors are going to occur and things are going to be missed. And that's what the enemy wants. Keep them confused, keep them emotional, keep them distracted, and mess up their vision. This is what the enemy wants. Just think about it. And mind you, there's many strategies of the enemy, but that right there, to masquerade, to infiltrate, to gather information, to confuse, to distract us, and to mess up our vision, to have us stay focused on one thing, on one event. Hey, I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. Let's be careful now. And let's not get distracted by all these smokes and mirrors and all these people talking. Because some of the people talking, let me tell you something. Some of you are clout chasing, and some of you are not even qualified. Well, I'll say it like this. You shouldn't be speaking. If you're a celebrity, please, you shouldn't even be saying anything. And if you're on mainstream media, you're just looking suspect. And I'm talking specifically about Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King. You do not represent me as a black woman. Or any of these other celebrities out there who particularly are black and female. I can speak for myself. I don't need a celebrity speaking for me. As for all those, my goodness, I couldn't name the names of people whom we have lost over these 400 plus years due to racism. To all those who are fallen. It hurts. But when it comes to war and battle, there's going to be casualties. It's unfortunate. Just remember, there are many strategies when it comes to war. And that's not even getting into, again, to get us in our emotions, that is psychological warfare. To try to mess up somebody's mind. These people are evil. Let's stay focused. And let's practice self-care in order to have a clear mind. So that we can think rationally and make it to the end. And for those who, I know that, not everyone is going to be saved. Some people are innocent bystanders out there. And there are some of us, again, like I mentioned before, the enemy has infiltrated. He is in the camp, and some of those agents are looking just like us. Like I said, not everybody is going to be saved. If they're a coon or a sambo, they're going to be a coon or a sambo. Only they can change. And that is if they want to. The likelihood of a person changing and they don't see and acknowledge they have a problem is very slim. And with that being said, this has been a Back to the Basics brief. This is very serious. We are in a very serious time. I love you as a sister. None of my statements are endorsed by the United States Army, the Department of Defense, and or any other military branch, element, or government entity. I'm speaking to you this way because I want our people to succeed and persevere through this difficult time that we're living in. I send my condolences to all those who have fallen this past 400 plus years, those unsung heroes and those who have recently fallen. The Most High be with you to protect you, lead and guide your footsteps. And with that being said, be safe out there. Maintain situational awareness. And if you haven't gotten a gun, a 22, 38, 45, 9mm AR-15, you need to get one legally. You need to go to the range. You need to shoot. You need to do self-defense courses immediately. I'm gone.